Okay, so we're back. This will be episode 2. Now I'm recording in OBS, so the microphone is going to be perfect. It's going to sound like I'm here in the room with you, but the video quality will suffer because for some reason OBS does not record as well as GameBar. Now GameBar encodes to MP4, so it might be that. However, when you set OBS to record in MP4, a little warning pops up that says, oh, you know, this can cause lots of problems. You might want to record audio separately and then compile them both. We recommend for using 2 audio streams, you use MKV. MKV will also be a smaller file size. So there's that. And there's that shark again, getting rotated. Oh, it's like that, is it? He stole some berries from me. Right, I need flint, 2 flint, 12 fiber, and 8 wood. And to repair this, I need flint, thatch, and wood. So there's a nice big tree up here. And we'll get some so really what I'm looking at doing is maybe getting a new microphone, because maybe a better microphone will mean I can record in GameBar and my voice will come through perfectly, because I've noticed in a lot of forum posts and a lot of walkthroughs online, people are saying, oh, fiber, people are saying that you know, oh, you can go into the microphone options in Windows and you can go into the properties and there's the level and a gain bar and you can set the gain, which would be perfect, but mine doesn't have that option, so it might be the microphone. So I'm thinking maybe if I buy a better microphone, that might solve the problem. However, If that works, I mean, that will be perfect. I will have no problems, and the whole thing will be really simple and easy. But, I mean, especially because with Game Bar I can have the game booted, and just with a shortcut key the game starts recording instantly. But using OBS, he's got such a cool head. With OBS, it's a question of quality. I mean, I've got the sound quality, but visually it's just not the same. I mean, there is artifacting, you get these blue strobes everywhere, these purple strobes everywhere. It's a real bummer. And I can't imagine what that's like. Oh, I need water. With games like Cyberpunk, if I wanted to do any other games. So, this video, see that purple up there? Imagine that just happening randomly all over the screen all the time. My son says it's awful, but I thought, nah, it adds character, you know, it's unique. But then I noticed that the visual quality, the fidelity of the image just with Game Bar is so much better. So it's trial and error. This is only my first week of making games with my new rig and the streaming software, and really trying to make a go of it. I've got between now, which is still the end of July, and I've got all of August until Starfield comes out, and I'm going to start a new channel. I've already set it up. And there's no videos on it, but I've set it up. I've got all the graphics and everything ready for it, and I'm gonna do Starfield videos, and I'm gonna do my whole playthrough of Starfield, and I'm gonna record all my experience with Starfield. So from the minute I first boot it up to setting the graphics and running any benchmark tests that it has, all the way up to, you know, finally having completed the game, the main quest. And you know, even if I do the main quest, it's a Bethesda game, who knows what I'll do. I will just explore and run around, build ships, build outposts, meet people. It'll be fun, and it's going to be the Star Citizen experience that I wanted Star Citizen to be. I can talk a bit about Star Citizen. So back in 2018, I got into Star Citizen with my flatmate. We both bought our alpha passes, and oh, your problems, aren't you? We both bought passes, and he bought a basic fighter craft. I think it was called the Drake Cutlass, maybe? Don't know, this is years ago. But I bought the Andromeda, which was a small freighter class frigate thingy. It was pretty big. It cost me like £350 on top of the £50 just to get in. I somehow managed to spend an extra 100 on top of that, I'm not sure what. But the Andromeda came with the Merlin snub-nosed fighter. Now, the Merlin docks in the back of the Andromeda, and you can actually go, whilst inside the Andromeda, you can go to the back of the ship, and then the cockpit's exposed. Oh my god! That combat should have gone so much easier. So anyway, the Andromeda and the Merlin. In the eventual full game, you would be able to go to the back of the Andromeda, go sit in the cockpit of the Merlin, and then detach the Merlin and fly off and do all sorts of defensive maneuvers protecting the Andromeda, and then dock again. Now this wasn't enabled, so all you could do was you'd have to spawn either the Andromeda or the Merlin. And if you spawned the Merlin, it didn't have quantum drive, so there was no FTL, there was no doing missions or flying about the place. You would just spin about and pilot it like crazy, and it was super fun, and I really enjoyed flying that thing a lot. And then there was the... oh, I went this way. And then there was the Merlin. No, that was the Merlin. Then there was the Andromeda, and the Andromeda was a big chunky boy, and it was, you know, it took a lot of effort and a lot of concentration to land it. And back then there was no planets you could land on. There was just planets. There was one planet that you could look at, and you couldn't fly around it. It was too big to fly around. We tried that, and it was kind of just like a skybox artifact, and we had a lot of fun, me and him. He would play on his laptop and sit on the sofa, and I would have my PC in the living room, and I would play with the mouse and keyboard. And we had the Xbox 360 controller. It USB'd into the PC, and one of the sticks on that worked for controlling the flight stick for the ships. So between the mouse, the keyboard, and the controller, we could control the ships pretty well. So for instance, I would hold the controller in one hand and the mouse in the other, and using one stick on the controller and the mouse would be able to do some insane maneuvers. Is that thing friendly? And my flatmate would use the keyboard. Oh, monkey. But anyway, after playing it for about 4 or 5 months, and really... ARK. after playing it for 3 or 4 months, nothing much happened. There was no missions, or there was one mission. You would quantum tunnel to a relay satellite, get out of the ship, float over to the satellite, go into the satellite, because it had a little hatch and you could float inside, and you'd access a panel, and you'd just reset the satellite, and that was it. That was the only mission. And there was the station above a planet, I think Port Olisar, I think is what it was called, and I believe they've redone that since. They've remade the station, or they built a sister station next to it. I can't see the green beam that usually denotes your stuff. Aha. Yeah, you're safe. But my flatmate moved out. That was a really sad story. I was friends with this guy for about 10 years. And he moved to China and worked there for about 4 years. And the day Destiny came out, we all played Destiny together and we formed a clan, and it was super fun. The first Destiny. Now, he really helped me out. He moved back to the UK, and he was back in the city we lived in originally, and he really helped me out. I was going through a pretty bad breakup. It was one of those terrible breakups where you're not actually broken up, and all the person has to do is call you, and you find yourself, against your own best judgment, whisking your way over to them, only to spend a few hours getting really butthurt by their behavior, and remembering that, oh yeah, you're kind of supposed to be broken up. And what really needed to happen was that cycle needed to be broken. And what he did, semi-unintentionally, was I was in town and I could phone him up any time. I mean 24/7. It did not matter. Like, if he was asleep, he was asleep. If he was awake and it was 4 in the morning and I phoned him and he would answer, because if he was awake he would answer, and I would say, dude, are you up? And he'd go, yeah, come round. And you could just hang out at his for as many days as you want, chill out, max out, live on the sofa, game, watch stuff. He was up for watching anything. You know, you could say, let's download this movie, and he'd go, tell me about it. Yep, let's do it. He was really one of my best friends. And he accidentally, sort of one afternoon, said, I gotta go out for a bit. I'll be back in 20 minutes. And I was like, okay. And he goes, I'm going to lock you in the flat. And I was like, okay. So he locked me in the flat. So I had no way out of this flat. And it wasn't just a Yale lock, it was a mortise lock as well. So there was no way of getting out. And the girlfriend in question messaged me and was like, hey, come meet me, I'm here. And I didn't want to, but every cell in my body was addicted to the dopamine I got from her, or had gotten from her for years, and wanted to rush over to her, but I couldn't, and I was trapped, and I had to go cold turkey. And it broke the cycle. And then I was free And a few days later, at some ridiculous time at night, I found myself over at her house, and she was like sidling up to me, and my body actually had been through the withdrawal process and went, oh no, no, I don't want this. And sort of, she got closer and I moved back, and I realized, oh, thank God, I'm not jumping to her. Or as the kids would say today, I'm not simping anymore. And so I was able to, cool, a snail. I was able to break free of that habit. And that was the last time I saw her. I left her house that evening, and I never phoned her, I never spoke to her, and I never saw her in person ever again. I mean, I spotted her at the gym a couple of times, where the gym that I go to has these huge badminton courts with big glass walls, and as you walk down the main corridor to get to the gym proper with all the equipment, you walk past these glass windows. And one day, as I was leaving, I looked in the glass window, and there she was playing badminton with some girl, and I thought, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with that anymore. Not to be sour, but, you know, it's not so much that I have to deal with her, it's I don't have to deal with me dealing with her. And another time, just as I was walking to the gym at like 6 in the morning, she was walking on the other side of the road near where I live, and I thought, oh, and she looked at me and she looked really embarrassed, as if to say, oops, sorry, don't mind me being here. And I thought, I don't mind. So anyway, the friend that helped me out, I went round to his house one evening, and he said, listen man, I've got some news. I've not told anyone this, but I'm leaving again. And I was like, oh, when? And he goes, I'm leaving tomorrow. And I was like, oh, where are you going? And he's like, I'm going back to China. And I was like, oh, why? And he goes, I can't live here anymore. This flat, the guy that I rent it from wants it back, and basically he's kicking me out. So I'll have nowhere to go, and I'm going to go back to China to work. And I was like, are you sure? Is that what you want? And he goes, it's the only option I have, because there's nowhere else for me to live. And I was like, dude, you've been to my house. You know I've got the spare bedroom. Come and stay with me. And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, totally. So the next day, he turned up with all of his stuff and moved into the spare bedroom, and we had a really, really great 3 or 4 months. And then eventually, and it was cool because he had a really tight-knit friendship circle that I wasn't really part of, other than to know them through going to his house, and they would be there sometimes. Occasionally, like 2 or 3 out of 5 of them would always be there. But what ended up happening was the whole gang would meet up once or twice a week, and they would all meet up at mine. And so my living room would be filled with 5 guys, all with laptops, all playing modded Total War with a Warhammer mod. So this was before Total War Warhammer came out, and they were playing these co-op campaigns, and it was really fun. And they let me have a few battles, and I found it really hard, and I'd rage quit and still win the battle, and they'd be like, oh, it's so funny, he rage quitted and still won. And it was a lot of fun. But bottom line is, after a couple of months, a month went by and he didn't pay rent. We'd agreed that he would pay rent, and a month went by and he didn't pay rent. And I said, it's okay, you've got a month in lieu, you know, it's totally cool, just get that to me at the end of the month. And he was like, yep, I'm going to email my dad, who's a millionaire, and I will get that money to you. And so anyway, 3 months later, still no rent, and he'd gotten really isolated. His friends had stopped coming round, and occasionally he would come into the living room and he would say, okay, so I'm having some people over. And they're coming over at this time, and what I need you to do is to stay in the living room. Oh, and not come out of the living room for, say, 3 hours, something like that, you know. And I'd be like, yeah, cool, okay, you know, thinking maybe he had a girl or a guy maybe come around. But what I think was happening, and I don't know this for sure, and this isn't an indictment of him, this is just a theory I had, but I think he was having a guy come round that sold crack, and the two of them would sit in the room and smoke crack together. And I think that's what was going on. But I was really depressed anyway. I had my own issues going on, and one day I thought, you know what, I can't handle this anymore. I need someone to speak to. I feel so put out and so isolated in my own house that I need someone to speak to. So I did what I advise anyone to do who's feeling really depressed. I phoned the Samaritans. Now, my landline at the time was in the hallway and opposite his bedroom door. And I was very quiet on the phone, and I was speaking to the Samaritans, and I was like, no, I'm not suicidal, I'm just really depressed. And, you know, they were like, what's the issue? And I was like, well, I've got this flatmate, and he's not paying any rent, and he's become very isolated, and, you know, I don't have friends over anymore because things are just awkward and strained between the two of us. And they were like, oh, you really need to talk to him. And then he opened the bedroom door and started screaming at me, how dare you speak about me on the phone to some stranger that I don't know? Bearing in mind that I hadn't used his name or anything, you know, it was just the fact that someone was speaking about him when I could have been speaking about anyone, but obviously I was speaking about him and he knew that, but it's not like the person knew who he was. And he was like, how dare you hang up that phone right fucking now. So I hung up the phone, and he was like really raging, really, really angry, and he goes, I'm not going to hit you. And I thought, thank God for that. He said, I'm not going to hit you, but I'm going to move out. And I'm going to move out today. And I need you to go away for a bit whilst I move out. Just go and take a walk for an hour and just leave me to sort out where I'm going to go. So I was like, cool, and I went to the pub, and then I came back that evening and his room was clear and everything was gone, and I've seen him once since then on a bus. I got on a bus and he was on the bus, and he was like, here's my number, and I was like, thanks. And he goes, just call me anytime, just like it used to be. I'm sorry about the way things went. And I was like, that's cool. And I never called him, and I lost that phone, and I lost his number. And my next door neighbor said that he bumped into him in the local shop and said that, oh, he's living in a flat on a road just around the corner from here, maybe 2 roads away. But I've never seen him, I've never heard of him, never spoken to him. I've still got him as a friend on Steam, although he's not been on Steam in like 3 or 4 years. But I've still got him as a friend on Xbox, and he still pops up regular as using Xbox. So I don't know if he's what he's up to. Oh, it's on. Even if there are sharks in this water. What the f... Piranhas. Saltwater piranhas. But yeah, so great guy, great memories. I mean, 10 years plus of awesome memories. Some of the best times of my life. And some of the best memories I've had of living in this house. But ultimately, I've not seen or heard from the guy in the last couple of years. And as my stuff sank right to the bottom. Oh, fuck off! Okay, looks like I've lost everything. I have to wait now until I can respawn in that bed. Maybe I can respawn at the random location. If I had some meat, I would totally have trained those 3 little compies and had a little gaggle of consignasis. Oh, god damn it. Okay, so that bag that has nothing in it is right there, and then further below it broke my leg. Giant piranhas. But they're coming right for me. Okay. Alright, so the shark infested water is filled with piranhas, and I just have to accept that I am not getting my stuff back from the bottom of the water. So I need to build spears, axes, picks, and clothes from fresh. So first off, fiber. And in fact, it's getting dark. I picked up a stone, that's good. What did you run off with? Oh. Okay. Hide to make gloves. Which means I should have some hide in my box. Flint and thatch. Flint, thatch, hide, stone. Pick, axe, I have enough fiber and I have enough hide. Why can't I? Oh, I don't have enough fiber now. So I just need fiber and then I'm good to go. Okay, here goes. Cool. I got flint, I got wood. Flint, wood, one. Out of wood. 2 spears, okay. Let me go fill my water bottle. Yeah. So, melee damage, health. I need to outdo my melee damage. So, I talked about my friend because we were talking about Star Citizen. I talked about Star Citizen because I talked about wanting to make videos and content about Starfield. And I was talking about Starfield because I was talking about the microphone issue and the OBS issue and whether or not I can have a better microphone to record with Game Bar and thus have really high fidelity video with killer sound, so it sounds like it does now, like I'm in the room with you, but you can still hear the game as if you're playing the game yourself. Or if I can figure out a way to get the audio levels just right for OBS so that the game comes through as if you're playing it and my voice comes through fine, and hopefully the artifacting problem will go away. I think it might be the way I'm encoding the video. I don't know if encoding is the right word. There's an option. It might be that I'm encoding into MKV. It might be that CBR option. I'm not sure. I need to figure it out. But yeah, so that's why I was talking about all that stuff. Well, I'm really looking forward to Starfield. I'm really hoping that I can run. I know that I will be able to run it on full. The hardware that I bought, the processor and the graphics card, both came with the deluxe special edition version of Starfield, the one that is going to give you early access and let you play 5 days earlier than everyone else. So the game comes out on September 6th, but I should be able to play September 1st. Now, the company that I bought the 2 products from, the processor and the graphics card, they said that I didn't get 2 codes, I got 1 code. Even though I bought 2 products, I only got the 1 code, and I had to give the code over to AMD, and AMD took the code and said, congratulations, yep, you have the special edition, and we will give you the Steam code for that at a later date. So hopefully they give it to me before the 1st of September and not on the 6th, so that I can make use of those extra 5 days, because really I don't care about having a mining laser or having like a Martian skin for a suit, a space suit. I'm not fussed about that at all. Man, those piranhas. That's the thing with ARK, you know? Death comes quick. And there's just such a steep... Well, there's this huge steep learning curve. But, you know, I spent over 24 hours, nearly 2 days in ARK in one go, without sleep. And that was 3 years ago, over 3 years ago. And so it's like a place I've been to, that I've come back to, that I remember a lot. But I'm not making the huge progress. I'm not grinding like I was in those 30 hours. Like, that was all about grinding. I wasn't doing it for anyone. I wasn't talking over it. There was no audience component. It was just me, and so it was just harvesting all the fiber in an area, cutting down all the trees in an area, just filling crates filled with stuff, and then building massive structures, and then deciding that I'd conquered an area and I would move on to another area, and doing the same again and again. And it was good. But this is going to be a lot slower. This, I'm going to take it nice and easy. I'm just going to ramble on, and hopefully people that watch this will get to like my voice, get to like my stories. I'll tell you a bit about myself. So I'm nearly 40 years old. Seems like only yesterday I was 18 years old. But I sort of blinked and 20 years went by. I've been to a lot of places in the world. I've been as far east as Germany. I've been as far west as Florida. Which to an American sounds stupid, saying Florida's west, but I'm from the UK, so Florida is to my west. I've been as far south as the furthest, most southern tip of South Africa. I've actually been to the actual southernmost tip of the landmass down there. I think I've been there twice. There's a big lighthouse. It's very cool. You can see both oceans at the same time. And they are actually different colors, and there's a very distinct line that you can see going off, curving into the horizon, where there's one ocean and then the other. And that's a fact. I've seen it with my own eyes. So if anyone says that's a myth and you can't see it, they have got the wrong information. In Africa, I've been as far north as Pretoria. I'm not sure if Kruger National Park's further north than Pretoria. I've done Kruger National Park. Done Boulders Beach. Done a lot of the west coast. Not so much of the east. I've been to every Disneyland. Unless, well, I've been to every Disneyland that I'm aware of there being up until 2010, unless they built some new ones, including the German knockoff Phantasialand. Let's get some wood for the fire. So yeah, nearly 40. I'm actually 37, and I'll be turning 38 in December. And this is July at the moment as of time of recording, so a while to go. But time moves really fast these last couple of years. And really, the distance between 30 and 38 happened in an instant, whereas the distance between 20 and 30 was like 3 or 4 entire lifetimes, it seemed. and the distance between 18 and 20 was just a massive lifetime. And between 16 and 18, again, a massive lifetime. It seemed like everything before 16, every year was like a whole life. You know? You really went with the seasons. But now, life's just so much faster, or slower. You know, you count things in groupings of 10 rather than groupings of year. It's subjective, is my point. I got a son. It's his birthday soon. He's going to be the ripe old age of 17. My best friend when I was 16 and 17, we stopped hanging out when I was 17 because he met his boyfriend and the two of them moved in together and were thick as thieves, and I didn't want to be a third wheel, and I had other stuff going on in my life, and we just sort of fell apart from each other. No ill will, no negativity towards each other at all. We just stopped hanging out every day, and you know. So anyway, I bumped into him in my local shop back in January, and it was such a surprise to see him, you know, because he wasn't this skinny little goth kid anymore. He was like a grown man, you know, with grey hair. And I was like, oh my god, it's you. And he was like, oh my god, it's you. And we were both, you know, middle-aged and, you know, slightly overweight and just happy to see each other. And we hugged, and it was great. And we were so happy to see each other again. And so we changed numbers, and we texted each other and left it at that. And then I didn't speak to him, and he didn't get in touch with me. And then I went to Ireland for a month. I tend to go to Ireland every so often, so if this channel becomes a regular thing, I will stop doing videos for a month here or there whilst I go to Ireland. But when I was in Ireland on Pride Day, not Pride Month, the day of Pride, because there's a day, it's a day. This whole month thing is just stupid. But on Pride Day, he texted me and was like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, I'm doing really good. I'm in Ireland. I'll be back in a few days. It would be great to meet up if you want to. And he was like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that. So I got back and I was like, hey, I'm back. When do you want to meet up? And he was like, we'll do it Friday. So we met up in town. And I put on my best duds and trimmed my nails and made sure that I felt good and looked good, and most importantly, emotionally felt good. And went off to meet him, and we hung out and had a coffee, and it was amazing. And we just talked non-stop for 2 hours. And right at the end, he goes, oh, I've just gone into this hobby last year, a thing called Warhammer. Do you know anything about it? And I, my heart just raised up through the ceiling. I thought, I've been playing Warhammer since I was 6 years old, and I never once mentioned it to him when we were best friends. And here he was saying that he'd just gone into 9th edition a year ago, and 10th edition had just come out, and did I like it? And I was like, dude, I've got armies, I've got boards, I've got it all, I can play games at mine. And he was like, we gotta have a game together. And so a week to 2 weeks later, he came round to mine one afternoon, and we set up the tables, and we had a game, and it lasted about 2 hours. And then we sat and we talked for another 4 hours until his husband phoned him and was like, where are you? And, you know, are you still playing that game? And he was like, no, we stopped hours ago, we're just talking. And he was like, oh. And it was funny because I had made us a pizza to have something to eat, because you know, having a guest round and playing a game of Warhammer, you need some food. And I burnt the pizza, and I was like, do you want... I'm still going to eat my burnt half. Do you want your half? And he was like, no, thank you. I'm okay for pizza. So anyway, his husband phones him, and I can hear his husband on the phone going, so I'm thinking of ordering pizza in for dinner tonight. Are you okay with pizza? And he's like, yeah, okay, that sounds nice. And I'm thinking, the universe wants you to have pizza today, boy. So that was a lot of fun. But he's coming round to play another game of Warhammer on Friday, and we'll probably be playing a larger game. So we played a 1,000 point game last time. Both our armies came to 995 points each. And in 10th edition, 1,000 points does not get you much. I had 6 units in my army. I had 3 units of 10 bloodletters. Skulltaker, who's a bloodletter, who's leading the army, and in 10th edition, characters join units now. So he was in a unit of 10. And then I had a Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage, which is now just a Bloodthirster in 10th edition, but he has the Great Axe of Khorne. And I had 3 Juggernauts of Khorne. But they're called something else now in 10th edition. But they're Juggernauts. They're the big brass bulls, and they've got bloodletters riding them. Had 3 of those. So that was my 6 units. And they all deep striked. I set up my side of the board with just Skulltaker and 10 bloodletters sitting on top of the objective marker on my side of the board in my deployment zone. And then slowly between turns 2 and 5, deep striked everything else in. And yeah, just did a classic pincer movement. And it was really fun. 10th edition rules are super simple, super easy. Had a lot of fun. Surprise! Oh, look, there they are. Look at them. Instantly. So yeah, 10th edition 40k, absolutely loved it. It was so amazing reconnecting with my old best friend 20 years later. And we're both grown up now, and you know, all our priorities have totally shifted. None of our anxieties are there anymore. Well, I mean, you know, we're not teenagers wondering about our bodies, and you know, we're both grown-ups and have lived full lives so far. And it was really cool. Super cool. And he's got a car, which is super useful. I don't think I'll ever drive. It's just not for me. I have a bus pass that lets me travel anywhere in my part of the UK. My country, Scotland. Oh, that's me been for an hour. So, I guess it's time for me to say goodbye. So, goodbye.